Okay, this is, to me, extremely disturbing. This is just the way this article was written and everything. This was according to NBC News, okay? The article is, he lures alleged child predators and shames them on Facebook. Now, one of his targets is dead. Okay. It appears that what we're going to do here is glorify the actual victim of the suicide, in this case, who was a pedophile, and make the enemy out to be the people that were trying to catch a predator, basically. That's NBC News for you right now. So Brandy Zadronzi, okay, that's the author of this. Let her have it or him have it, however they identify, I really don't care. It says, on a cool evening, listen to the premise of how they start off this article. It's already on a cool evening in October. So right now they're setting this up to be a storybook tale, right, that we're going into, and they're going to set up this character for us of this magnificent person who rose to the top and was ultimately defeated by a child predator catcher, right? On a cool evening in October, Alan Malcolm, 20, walked into a vacant 2-story colonial house in Bristol, Connecticut. 2 members of a local internet vigilante group who regularly try to expose and shame alleged child predators they entice online were waiting for him. Oh, these guys are jerks already, right? How dare they try to protect children? Malcolm was tall and handsome. The oldest son of Jamaican immigrants, he wholly subscribed to the idea of the American dream. In high school, Malcolm was vice president of the Future Business Leaders of America's Club, assistant captain of the tennis and swim teams, and a member of the Student Council and Model United Nations. He started a social marketing business at 15. So what are we doing here? We're building this guy's character up. This was a pillar of society at this point, right? So what happens to this pillar of society? After graduating in 2016, Malcolm filled his Instagram and Facebook feeds with photos of New York high-rises, bathroom selfies and 3-piece suits, and links to new articles in which he was featured. He went to community college while working as a junior buyer for a local circuit board manufacturer and was the subject of a Connecticut public television series that profiled recent high school graduates. Earlier this year, he was named one of Litchfield County's 40 leaders under 40. Malcolm was also gay, which was difficult growing up in a religious family in Torrington, a sleepy former mill town in the northwest part of the state, friends say. Okay, so we're already starting to shift the blame here based on him and his sexuality to getting a hard time for it, right? So it's all downhill from here. It's not easy to be black, Jamaican, a Jehovah's Witness, and gay in Torrington, Connecticut, said Allie Morrissey, a friend of Malcolm's. Starting in high school, Malcolm used apps like Tinder and Grindr to meet men from around the state, friends said. On that October night, he had come to Bristol to meet someone younger, purportedly a 14-year-old boy going on 15, according to a video posted by the digital vigilante group known as Pop Squad. When Malcolm arrived, he found that there was no boy. There was only Pop Squad. For the 126th time in 2 years, the group, an acronym for Prey on Predators, had catfished a man on the internet posing as an underage teen on hookup apps and luring him into a meetup, this time at an empty home whose owner allows it to be used for the group's stings, according to Pop Squad. Like the others before him, Malcolm was greeted by Shane Erdman, who's 31 years old, better known by his alias Incognito, who questioned and berated Malcolm as the camera rolled. The entire encounter was posted on Facebook the next day, though it was later removed. NBC News spoke to 3 people who watched it, 2 friends of Malcolm's and 1 Pop Squad fan, and described its contents. Confronting Malcolm with copies of the alleged sexual online messages sent to a Pop Squad member, Erdman asked, why had Malcolm come? What disgusting things was he planning to do, and what would his family think? Malcolm said, I don't have anything to live for, as he stared at the ground. Although his targets may initially believe otherwise, Erdman isn't with the police, and Malcolm wasn't required to talk with Pop Squad. As Malcolm walked to his car, Erdman followed to film his license plate, reading the numbers aloud for the camera, he said. Your family is going to see this. How do you feel? Malcolm honked twice as he sped away, driving 30 minutes back home to his parents' house in Torrington, where he hanged himself. Okay. So there's more here, blasting Pop Squad and this whole mentality of vigilantism going into it. But let's take a look at what actually happened in this article, right? First of all, people have problems, okay? Mental health problems is a big problem here in the United States and frankly around the world. People are dealing with different types of addictions and mental issues all the time. This is no different from that, right? This guy was a pedophile, and mentioning here that he was gay, quite frankly, doesn't have anything to do with it, because pedophiles typically just like younger children, and they may have a preference for which type of sex they like of those two, of girls and boys and everything. But being gay, that to me signifies a sexual preference between him and a consenting adult, and that's not what we have a problem with here. This guy was a pedophile, okay? He was fully intending on going to this location to meet up with a 14-year-old boy and have sex with him. Okay, that's what this actually comes down to. This guy was going to prey on a 14-year-old boy, and instead, while it's sad that this individual hung himself and killed himself instead of seeking out mental health for what he was going through, which would have been the best course of action for him, instead, looking at this whole situation of what was going on, we instead see NBC News of all organizations, not some blog off to the side of maybe individuals that happen to be associated with this guy and are friends of his and felt that this was all wrong because they're taking an emotional approach to us. We have a storybook on this man growing up that becomes a child predator, and they lay out his accomplishments, what type of person he is, how hard it was for him growing up and everything, and they're making a victim of the predator in this case, right? This is so disgusting. This is a disgusting level of journalism as it goes on to blast the vigilante group and everything. Listen, I don't know where we go. We have, we have Eric, who was a co-host with me the one day, who gets involved with Wolfpack search and recover teams and everything, right? When people go missing in an area, he and others join together and do a social media outreach push to get those individuals out that are part of the Wolfpack, and they search for individuals that are missing and everything. You could call that a type of vigilante group that would go out there and do what police are typically supposed to do, or detectives are supposed to do. Are you going to diminish their efforts because they're not officially associated with some sort of organization that's through the books of the law enforcement officers or anything like that? The same goes with this. I don't necessarily completely agree that vigilantes should be setting up predators, child predators, and doing this on their own. I thought that To Catch a Predator show on television was fantastic in doing that, and they had police officers, or at least law enforcement people, there to apprehend those people in the circumstances they were going through with it. In this case, it's a dangerous situation. Who knows who would show up to that type of thing if they're armed, and can you really fire upon someone that's being attacked when you are the one that lured them there in the first place? I mean, that's not self-defense at that point. That's trapping a person trapping a predator. That's, just like throwing the bait out there. It is actual wild game hunting at that point, for crying out loud. I don't know where we go with something like this, but the stated goal behind these organizations like Pop Squad and everything is to protect children, okay? This time, it was a fake person. It was a fake child that this person was going to meet up with. But if it hadn't been him, if it had been someone else that found the messages and got involved with this guy and went off and was raped, possibly worse, Okay, I'm not going to say that the guy would have killed a 14-year-old boy or anything, but could he have? I don't know. There's something wrong there already right off the bat with this guy's mentality and what he was doing, right? So I don't know. I don't know where to go with this. I personally think that law enforcement maybe should definitely at least be involved with these types of groups, and that they should know exactly what's going on when they are luring someone into a situation, and work with some sort of detective unit or something to say, hey, we have a predator coming to meet with a child. I want you to be here. But at the same time, I wouldn't be bastardizing these types of groups or anything that are actually out there saving children's lives. And instead, we have news organizations that make a victim of the predator. I think that's very wrong, and I disagree with it wholeheartedly.